Thank you for being with us, Dr. Goodall. It's a pleasure. It's an honor.
Well, it's a very great honor for me. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
So, Dr. Goodall, my first question is, how do you react to our audience polling result, which is, I think, a huge majority of saying that we're not doing enough and we will not be doing enough for the next 10 years?
Well, I suppose that it's based on past experience. You know, everybody was all excited after the Paris Agreement, and all the different countries had guaranteed they were going to control their own emissions, but basically not so much happened. So I suppose people have lost faith. That's the only reason I can think of for that. Maybe if the question was posed differently and it was, will you commit to doing the best you can professionally and personally? I hope that the answer would have been different.
I hope so. Before we talk about the planet, Dr. Goodall, what is your reaction to the current pandemic and the response by global leaders?
Well, first of all, I think the response has been pretty good on the whole. And, you know, if only global leaders had responded with the same urgency to the climate crisis, we'd be in a very different place now. But the entire pandemic, it's very tragic because it's our fault. We brought this upon ourselves. We have not been listening to the scientists studying these zoonotic diseases. That's diseases that jump from an animal to a person. They've been predicting a pandemic like this for so long now. And it's because of our disrespect of the environment and our disrespect of animals that this has come about. We've been destroying the natural world. This means that animals who normally wouldn't interact get pushed closer together, and they get closer and closer to human beings. And as people go into the forest or what other habitat it is to hunt, kill, capture animals, all of this is creating a wonderful environment for a virus or a bacteria, pathogen, to jump from an animal to a person. If we were not continually destroying the environment, such opportunities wouldn't arise. But this disrespect of animals goes further. It's not only hunting them for people to eat, it's hunting them, capturing them, and trading them, trafficking them, sending them around the world so that thousands go to the wild animal meat markets of Asia, and there in the most terrible, unhygienic conditions, never mind the cruelty, it's very cruel. Animal species that normally wouldn't interact are close together. Very often they're killed on the spot. The seller and the buyer can be contaminated with blood, urine, feces. And this, again, this is an ideal environment for a virus to hop over from one animal to one person, which is what happened with this COVID-19 virus. It also happened with SARS. It happened with MERS. That was a hop over from a domestic camel in the Middle East. It happened with HIV/AIDS, that terrible pandemic that is still continuing in some parts of the world, where chimpanzees were butchered in 2 separate parts of Central Africa. And there are many other zoonotic diseases that have resulted from our disrespect of animals. And it's not just wild animals either. We have to realize that these intensively farmed animals, these factory farms, which have been likened to concentration camps for animals, that too pushes animals close together. They're stressed. And apparently when animals are very stressed, it makes it easier for the virus to hop over into a human. And so as long as we go on disrespecting animals and the environment and realize that this also has led to climate change. It's not just pandemics which affect our health. It's climate change which affects the future of our own species and every other creature living on the planet.
Dr. Goodall, what makes this crisis also a unique opportunity to put the world back on sustainable track?
Well, I think people have been thinking. I know many people have contacted me and said, that they found it so wonderful to be able to hear the birds sing in a city, to see wildlife, to see the air clearing. And people have been thinking that they don't want to go back to the old polluted ways. But this isn't easy. And especially with some of the world leaders today really just longing to get back to business as usual, it's going to be even more difficult. But if we go back to business as usual, we've got to realize that unlimited economic development on a planet with finite natural resources doesn't make sense, especially when some of those resources have been used up more quickly than nature can replenish them. And at the same time, our human population is growing. 7.2 billion of us today, predicted to be 9.7 or even 10 billion by 2050. How will the planet cope? And we need a new definition of success. Must it always be accumulation of wealth and material goods? Must we have this materialistic outlook? Must we lose all kinds of spiritual connection with the natural world?
What is your definition of success?
Well, I think a successful person is one who achieves what he or she wants to achieve. And of course, sometimes that means lots of money. So we have to say that's successful for that person. I'm trying to think of a different measure of success, which is to attain what you want, which makes you happy, where you can bring happiness to your family and your friends, where you can enjoy each day and not always be worrying about the bottom line. So a more peaceful, more relaxed way of living, which of course some people still live that way. I know many people in the global South who have a very different way of living than us in the global North.
Dr. Goodall, as the people who will pay for it and the ones with the most at stake, the youth should have a say in how the world will be rebuilt. Your organization, Roots and Shoots, works with the youth across the world for almost 30 years. What are the new ways in which we can help the youth, have a voice in how we shape the recovery efforts?
Well, having worked with the young people, young people of all ages, from kindergarten through university and older too, once you listen to their voice, once you respect them, and once you empower them to take action, it's unbelievable the way that they are tackling the world, the problems in the world around them. So the main message of Roots and Shoots, which is for everybody, is that every single day we live, we make some impact on the planet. And we have a choice as to the kind of impact we make. We do need to alleviate poverty. And, there's an expression, think globally, act locally. But if you honestly, I'm sure everybody listening, if you think globally, you feel pretty depressed sometimes. But if you look locally and see, what can I do? What can I do myself? And you see that you can make a difference. You and your friends make a difference. You know that other young people around the world are making a difference. And so now you dare to think globally. And part of Roots and Shoots, which is to help people, to help animals, to help the environment, because we're all interconnected. Springing out of this program has come an organization that is breaking down the barriers that we build between people of different nations, people with different languages, different cultures, different religions, people who are young and old, rich and poor. And the young people are beginning to understand that far more important than the color of your skin is the fact that when you fall and hurt yourself, the blood is the same, your tears are the same. When you laugh and you get that wonderful feeling, laughing is very important for us. We should all laugh more. then our laughter is the same. It gives us that same feeling. We are one human family. And so Roots and Shoots is really my passion. You know, there's a saying, we haven't inherited this planet from our ancestors. We borrowed it from our children. We have not been borrowing our children's future. We have been stealing it, and we're still stealing it today. But if we get together with them, listen to them, work with them, empower them, help to fund some of the projects, like they're planting millions of trees, then indeed we can look forward to a much better world, because they don't want to get back to the old way of doing things.
Dr. Goodall, if you allow me, I would like to ask you a last question, and thank you again for your time. You have dedicated your life to protecting the planet. So what advice, what call to action do you have for our audience today? And what is your call to action to the G20 leaders who will meet in Riyadh in November?
Thanks to the chimpanzees being so like us, my studies of the chimpanzees' behavior, along with their biological similarity, forced science to admit that we humans are not the only beings on the planet with personalities, minds, and emotions. Animals are sentient beings, whether we breed them to eat, whether they're wild in the forest, they are individuals with personalities. They can feel fear, pain, and joy. So we really need to think how we interact with each other, how we interact with nature. And the leaders in this G20, I mean, they're in a position, I can make some small difference each day, but they can make a huge difference. They can make a huge difference. So I would beg those leaders, as they make decisions about the future, to think of their children and grandchildren, to think of all this beauty that's on our planet that we're destroying, to think that as we continue to destroy the forests, we are destroying the most important way of mitigating the effects of climate change, while new technology is developed that will enable us to live in greater harmony with nature. Think about our own environmental footsteps and try and encourage others, and try not to be selfish. It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, "This planet can provide for human need, but not human greed." That's what's been going wrong. But we can all do something about it, each single one of us. And some people can do far more than others.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goodall, for this very inspiring discussion. You have definitely set the tone for this event and the rest of the discussion that will follow. I cannot wait to see you in person. Thank you for making the effort to be connected from your country house. And I hope to see you very soon, if not in UK, to welcome you in Riyadh at the FII annual meeting. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you very much. And then we can have a proper hug.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you.